So this is a conversation with Theresa Adrienne. Now, Theresa is going to share with us why the heart is the one that unites all of our conversations, leading a heart-centered life, choosing to pause and tune in before making decisions, and stopping decisions being made with fear. Theresa runs an amazing meditation group like no other called HeartSpace, with healing meditation and mantra. If you're looking for this time to work, to live, to be different, and here's a good healthy start. Learning how to pivot, and probably one of the best tips on how to charge for what you offer in your business.
So here we are now for a conversation with Theresa Adrienne. I'm fresh out of HeartSpace, only last night with this lady, an area of the body that we'll talk about a little bit more in this conversation, and as to why and how Theresa actually journeyed from those corporate conversations to what she now leads is heart-led conversations. Theresa's mission is to forge a different way of communicating for the whole world, our world. And as an actor, writer, a guide, Theresa has used creativity to navigate the world of psychology. But it was the moment that she got out of her head and into her heart that her voice began to sing. So I'd really like to welcome Theresa to the conversation today, and thank you so much for joining us on this project.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Claire. That's quite an introduction.
So where do we go from there? So I actually wanted to start with the project itself, because this is sort of a real childhood, I guess, journey for me that, as a kid, I had this deep care for people that were hungry. And, as a child, I used to do sort of 24-hour famines and thinking I was saving the world from hunger. And I know that I went into a case in my adulthood of analysis paralysis, as we'll talk about soon, where I didn't continue to contribute to that cause because I felt that nothing I did was big enough to contribute. And so it's a really wonderful opportunity to be conversing with yourself and other people to help support people during this time. And at the same time, give something back and give something really powerful back. But you've had your very own personal journey with hunger. Do you feel, comfortable to share that with us in your own journey?
Yeah, firstly, if I can say, I think I can feel the passion around the Hunger Project. I think not dissimilarly, I felt the burden of the world on my own shoulders through my life, and then when we had Bob Geldof and Live Aid and all those things when I was in my teenage years, and just this real calling, we must do something about this, and so here's the thing. I had my own, I've been on a journey all my life, and when I was 27 years old, my life sort of fell apart. Of my own doing, actually. Some of the choices that I'd made, and my own love for myself was not where it is today, and my own journey with that in my heart. And I know what it feels like to feel hungry, not having money, getting stuck, and I suppose that leads me on to being hungry. Being hungry is not just hunger for food. It's hunger. It's hunger for love. It's hunger for belonging. It's hunger for purpose and contribution. And I think when we have any hunger, be it a physical hunger or an emotional hunger, then one of the things I wanted to share with you when you were asking me sort of some of my top tips, it was the importance of asking for help.
Yes.
Asking for help and trusting there is help there. Okay, so there's asking for help through your network, your friends, your family, and not always obvious people, and trusting your heart. So firstly, asking for help for me, I had one situation when I was 27. I was going for a job interview. I got involved in a very destructive relationship, very manipulative relationship. I was in significant amounts of debt. And I bought this old banger of a car for like a couple of £100. And I was up in the West Midlands at the time. And I was coming back from this interview, you know, did my best to put the skirt and in those days, you know, the box jackets that we used to wear.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. the days of Dynasty in Dallas, you know, when this poor little car, you know, it was on its last legs, bless it, and it stopped. And there I was on the A5 going towards the mechanic, and I didn't have a phone. I didn't, you know, I probably had a couple of pounds in my purse, and that was it. And you know, I didn't really have anything, and at that moment, I couldn't actually ask the obvious people to ask. I had no phone, I had no way of contacting anybody. But so I got out of the car and I literally just started pushing this car to the side of the road as people were honking me and all kinds of things, you know. Help. And then at that point, I just needed to ask to trust that something would unfold. And within a few moments, this sales rep, I'll never forget him. I can still see his face. And he pulled to the side of the road, got out and asked if I was okay. And he helped me with my car. And he said, look, use my phone. And then he gave me a lift. It was like a sort of a good hour out of his way to give me a lift back to where I was living at the time. And it was just one of those moments where, and I've had quite a few in my life, where complete strangers appear out of the blue. And I too also have done this for other people, because there's a connection, you feel it, this kind of cycle of giving and receiving. So I think asking to trust and ask for help is asking for help in a way from people that might seem more obvious to ask for help. And also trust that if you ask, you will receive. If that helps answer your question.
So what that sort of trust sort of perhaps takes me to a question around adapting to change, and around, you know, you've used that terminology before, you know, pausing and stopping and trusting, but also not clinging to the old and actually letting go.
Yeah.
Can you talk me through those sort of perhaps two ways that you can pivot, you know, to adapt to change, of, you know, trust, but also of letting go?
Yeah, trust and letting go is really important. There's one other thing that I'll bring in here as well, is around being able to pivot. One of the things, listening into, okay, there's a few things. So listening into my heart, don't rush, pause, listen into your heart and allow that to speak. And I've done that for as long as I can remember, trusting that I'll be guided. And one of the things that this practice has given to me is also investing in my own development, my ongoing learning, my ongoing seeking for ways of being, not just knowing, but being. And when I reflect back on some of the things I've been doing over the last few years, you know that, gosh, 7 years ago, I went back to drama school and did my master's in voice studies. And that was almost guided for my own well-being, getting back into my body and my own sound. But it was also being guided from a way of, this is what's being created for the future. And my consulting business, which I started in the middle of a, you know, recession in 2008-9, I left my big corporate job, which most people thought I was mad to do, again, being guided by my heart, and living with some of the consequences, but I was guided again at that point. And that, when other work started to recede, I knew, I kind of sensed it was coming, but because I'd invested in myself, it allowed me to pivot and create the new, which then continued to grow my consultancy and bring other things into play. The other thing in terms of my own heart guidance is getting comfortable with my energy work and being seen.
Yes. Especially from that, that corporate world into this heart-led world.
This kind of tough businesswoman that I was, working across the world. And I was, those who don't know me, I was managing multi-million-pound accounts and leading remote teams of hundreds of people across the world and traveling and doing all kinds of things.
Others have come on that journey with you, haven't they, from that corporate world into
so
utilize it in that world too.
So as I knew would happen, I knew, I tend to skip about a little bit, but hopefully by the end I'll sum it up and you'll be able to see how the threads join. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Claire. I mean, one of the things in terms of my own learning and growth has also been founded on building really rich, deep relationships with people.
Yeah.
And I'm really fortunate that because of that, to give you an example, one of my longest standing clients of 13 years, which was born out of a very corporate driven life. And I used to run big graduate recruitment programs and so on and so forth. My connections in there and my relationships within this world have moved with me, which is amazing, amazing. And that's born out of coming from the heart and trusting and having a genuine giving and receiving of relating with each other. So just backtracking a little bit, but I was always very, I was scared. I was scared of revealing.
Leap, isn't it? It's a real leap.
I was really, really scared of revealing this part of me, my essence of who I am and what I have to offer the world for many, many years. I mean, you'll be aware that recently I finally this year changed my name.
Yes.
Because that's what was vibrating. That was my truth in my heart, living my truth. And that calling first came through when I was 17 years old. And, I turned 50 this year. So it took a while. Took a while, but this year I finally decided I'd go on and do that. And so I was really, really scared to reveal this part of me. And I described it as kind of different sort of hats. And I was really, really grateful that 2.5 years ago, my dear friend Luis in Chile, who heads up the voice department at the University of Santiago, I studied with him in London. And we struck up probably the most unlikely friendship, but one which is so heart-led and born out of love. And we'd been talking about me going and doing something over there for quite a while. And so 2.5 years ago, it finally happened. And I got on a plane and I finished my bhakti yoga, kirtan, chanting, another personal development, that investment I made in myself, the calling for my voice, another big part of my journey. And so I took my harmonium along with my suitcase.
As you do.
I dragged it all the way to Santiago in Chile. And I had this little rational mind going on. My little kind of ego mind was kind of kicking a little bit, saying, oh, well, if it all goes pear-shaped, it doesn't matter. It's in Chile. Nobody will ever know. I can still come back to UK and I can still be intact, even if it all, goes a bit pear-shaped. So my little ego mind was playing a part there. And then I got there and then I just had the most beautiful opportunity to really voice and present who I am, and connecting back with my head of voice studies, Jane Boston, was just so beautiful. And she asked me 7 years ago, who are you as a voice teacher? And that question had always remained with me. It was very profound, and it's still there. And my book that I'm writing now is going to answer that question finally.
I was just going to ask that.
It will have been an 8-9 year journey to actually be able to answer the question. So, I come back to don't rush, take it slow, baby steps, I thought I'd have a book written last year, and then no, my life was calling me to do other things. So it's that place of coming back into the heart and knowing what you need to do. So in Chile, I finally revealed, I used the word light worker at the time, born out of Rebecca Campbell's beautiful teaching that I've studied. And it was amazing, the response I got. It was just, the energy in the room was nothing but pure love. And Luis came up to me afterwards, and he gave me a massive hug, and he said, now I know. Now I know.
Here you are.
But it's a kind of like, now I know. Now I know why we're friends. Now I know why we have this connection. It created curiosity, actually, more than anything, of how I'm combining all of my hats, my psychology work, my voice work, my body work, the mind, body, emotions, soul, spirit, and bringing it all together.
And I'm curious a little bit about knowing what you know now. Do you think that your journey, would you have liked to have got where you are now sooner, or do you actually trust that this time was the right time? You know, you told not rushing. I was curious to know whether, actually knowing what you know now and how much more at ease you feel, would you have liked to have got there sooner, or do you trust this was the right time?
Yeah. Oh, my ego absolutely would have wanted to be here in my 20s. Because sometimes it's been hard, you know. I mean, trust me, anybody that thinks that following a heart opening, I mean, some people call it awakening, spirit journey. I mean, the world is like freeing, heart opening journey, whatever you choose to call it. And trust me, there are lights going on all over the world right now. There's a mass kind of opening that's happening, which is just beautiful, and makes me so excited, because we create and we shape, and it's what you're doing, even in this small offering. You know, if we're all doing our little bits,
bing 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 bing,
no longer need to carry that weight or burden that you were talking about at the beginning, Claire, where so many of us who are empaths and sensitive to the world needs feel like we carry this weight.
And we don't know what to do with it, or how to go about it.
I need to do something big.
And then we end up doing nothing.
And then we procrastinate, and we kind of, and so the teaching is actually, if all of us are doing our small piece, what I'm now calling the ripple of the heart effect, that vibration that is happening, and we'll talk about HeartSpace, I'm sure, afterwards, but this vibration that is happening, and people's offerings, and the light that's coming into this chaotic world of ours is palpable. I can feel it, and I'm not the only one who can feel it. So do I wish I was here sooner? Yeah, absolutely. My ego would say, yes, I wish I was here in my 20s and my life would have been so different, and maybe it wouldn't have been so hard. But hey, look, now I'm writing the book. If I hadn't had this journey, I wouldn't have the richness of my own story to write what I'm about to share with people. So yeah, I'm grateful for my journey. I'm grateful for my journey, for all its really ups and downs, ebbs and flows, and where it's taken me. It's not been, well, whatever normal is, I don't know. I mean,
it was one of the most powerful phrases that you said to me once, was your life is your story. And it was pivotal. And if anybody is out there and watching this that, you know, has ever felt in any moment that they weren't doing enough, or they should be doing this, or they wish they were doing that, that actually to look back at what you have done as well, and to appreciate what you have already done, and perhaps not realizing the impact that it might have had, and just sitting in that for a little moment and appreciating that journey. You know, your life is your journey.
Absolutely. And it is. And somebody taught me that, and I think now, looking back in terms of what I'm writing about, which is all about the practice of speaking my truth.
Yeah.
And helping others speak their own truth.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I feel what I'm doing is it's born out of all these pieces of this, what feels like a jigsaw puzzle to me sometimes. You know, my journey with the theatre.
Yes. Acting, writing.
Theatre, and then going into my degree in business psychology, and then the corporate world across the world, and then coming out of that and then creating a consultancy and creating, and then returning back to my theatre roots to do voice, and then do my healing work, and you know, my bhakti yoga, my Heart of Living Foundation meditation, and the other ascension energy groups that I'm part of, and staying in a very high vibrational community, to really hone some of my gifts, my offering, put it like that come from my heart, and that is clear around my purpose. You know, my purpose here is clear. And if I hadn't had the journey I'd had, then maybe my purpose wouldn't be clear, and maybe I would have got here a different way. But I sense that I would have got here anyway. You know? So,
and do you hope that actually with your book, and of course, you know, with HeartSpace, that people reach that truth much sooner in their lives? Or again, do you think it is again still timing? You know, because often you say in the meditations, you know, about receiving what is right for you today. So not rushing things.
Always. It's baby steps. So
a lot of patience needed, right?
Patience, yeah. Slow down, baby steps, and trust. Comes back to those two principles of slow down, trust, and listen into the heart, and you'll be guided. And it's coming out of the ego mind. I had a goal last year. I went to the Hay House Dublin Writers' Workshop in April last year, 2019. I thought, I'll have my first 3 chapters ready to submit with my book proposal by September deadline. Hurrah, I'll have a deal by January, you know. Of course, my ego mind thought all of those things. Well, you know, as my life unfolded, as you know, I chose to embark on a journey to the Amazon last July, which was profound, where I sat in ceremony for 7 ceremonies over 12 days with the most amazing Shipibo shamans, and working with plant medicines and ceremony. And it was an incredible experience, a deepening experience for me, for my own healing, my own journey. And as a result of that, my whole life has changed in the last year. Every aspect of my life has changed in the last year. So my book, it comes back to the same practice. What I was guided to do and how my life has manifested subsequently has been an absolute result of listening into my heart, and practicing my truth, and speaking my truth. And some of that journey has required me to find, I would say, the most courageous voice I did in certain situations in terms of speaking my truth. So do I hope that the book that I'll share helps people speak their truth? Absolutely, that would be a real boon if that's what it was to do. But also by sharing some of my own story with people, ways in which I've done that, hopefully will help people foster in and really listen into their hearts, and find their own truth. Because as you just said, Claire, it's different for all of us, and we're all at different stages of our journey. I'm just at this bit of my journey right now. Goodness knows what's going to happen in the next 30 or 40 years. I mean, you know, I just don't know. And I'm excited about uncertainty now. And if I might just loop that back to how do you pivot? because I really, really do feel for, well, everyone who's needed to really pivot small businesses. I'm a small consulting business myself, and to share a little bit about what happened to me in March, my consultancy business with my partner David came to a standstill overnight.
Sure.
All of our programs, our training development programs, were cancelled. We were finishing off a project which we did manage to get online to complete, so we could invoice it.
Late into the night.
Oh, yeah. We were doing Chicago time and Tokyo time, which we worked through the night to complete remotely, which was quite an experience. So, but we did it, and that was born out of people's energy and commitment to really having a duty of care to the people. So in terms of pivoting, you know, I furloughed, you know, not dissimilar to many, but because being self-employed, I can't furlough on what I was paying myself, and I'm certainly not earning what I was paying myself. You know, far from it. But it's also in and of that moment, I think, because of all my own practice and looping it back to because of my own personal development, my investment in myself, which has been tens of thousands of hours, tens of thousands of pounds, tens of thousands of tears and healing and joy and bliss has been my journey. So when this all happened back in March, I was grateful not to feel fear. I was really grateful, which I know a lot of people have felt.
It's a hard thing not to feel.
I can absolutely have huge compassion because the old me absolutely would have felt really fearful, really fearful. But what I did was I sat with my heart and I meditated, and I kept asking myself one question: how can I serve? I just kept coming back into this space and sitting quietly. And I did that for 2 weeks. And I just listened. I waited. I waited and waited and waited. How can I serve? How can I help? And then the word HeartSpace was given to me. And
one of the most magical spaces ever to be created.
Oh, bless you. But I heard the word heart space, and I thought, okay, so what is this heart space?
Then comes the next question, delving in.
So what is it? And I thought at the beginning, and this loops back to my deep relationships with people, how we've helped each other, the cycle of giving and receiving. Yeah, really important. Like, you know, I say, Claire, money is only ever just an exchange of energy at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get to your honesty box in a moment. So whenever you,
no, well, we're kind of looping everything together, I hope now.
Absolutely, it's together.
So as I was listening into this very loud heart space that came through, I was like, okay, so who am I? Got a bit of psychology going on, a bit of voice, you know, how can that help people? Meditation, oh, that might be helpful for people. What just my mantra, my bhakti yoga training. So I've got all these little things. And so I listened in, and I mean, goodness me, my marketing is just absolutely shocking. But anyway, so if anybody wants to help me with that, then, you know, I'll help you with something else. I can help you with your business models and commercials, but if somebody can help me with marketing, that'd be great.
It's funny. This is the second recruitment drive I've had on these conversations.
Oh, I love it. Hey ho. You know me.
Community to put it out to.
Yeah, absolutely, you know me. I'm always playful. So yeah, I cobbled together some, you know, shockingly poor mail shot, and found my way through it and sent it out to a few people I knew. And
reading it.
yeah, and 85% of people came back and said, absolutely, we want to do this. And so I was like, okay, best crack on and figure out what this is now. And so sat again with my heart and found a way of creating that. And I thought initially, you know, when we were all locked down, I think like most people, this might go on for a couple of months, and hey, that will have been a nice thing to have given out. And but here's the beautiful thing about HeartSpace is that I honestly don't think that, even though I do keep expressing this, I honestly don't think that you and all the other amazing, inspirational women that come to this group, how much I receive as a result. You know, when I am channeling this work through guided meditation and healing and mantra, I'm also receiving.
Yeah, you feel that exchange of energy in the group for sure.
Yeah, and I have received so much from so many, honestly, just people who know that, you know, moving house and, you know, separating from, you know, David,
big life changes,
which has also been done with huge love and grace, and I love him dearly. He's still my best friend, and but that whole unbinding that we've been working through, and you know, just the emails I receive from people, not just what they're receiving, but also checking in with me and holding me too. So it's been this wonderful, beautiful giving and receiving group. And you know, I thought maybe we'd do it for a couple of months, and as I said, I've birthed something. We're on nine months now.
Well, you called it a series, so we held you accountable to a series.
A series, I know. Well, you know,
Netflix next.
Netflix series. We'll see how that goes, Claire. And here's the beautiful thing: is you know, I was clear that. Okay, should we talk about this whole money exchange thing?
Let's go there.
It feels like that's where.
You know what? Just before you go on to there, I'd love to give you a little bit of feedback of why that email had the kind of response. Certainly from my aspect, is it resonated. And what I found is that the stories that you're willing to share, so the personal experiences that you share, resonate. You know, it's a little bit like, you know, different situations I can think about that can be really painful, but when you share them, suddenly other people say, well, actually, I've been through that too. And just to not feel alone is why HeartSpace certainly resonated with me, and I'm sure has resonated with other people, because what you had to say, but actually what you had to share so openly is, you know, we felt not alone, and we wanted to be part of that together, and, you know, and work together. And that's why it's so cyclical, I think. You know, it comes around. That's just a little bit of feedback while we're here. But that's how it felt for sure.
Thank you. And you know, to have your presence in that group, Claire, is just such a privilege, really, that you show up and do this for yourself along with everybody else.
It is about everyone showing up, isn't it? And showing up when they can. And some, like you often say, not everyone can make it, but we still hold that, you know, everybody is, you know, valued in that group and is held, whether they're present, you know, physically or not, emotionally, they're there.
Always. It's just blossomed into this amazing community.
For sure.
Amazing community that is bringing this beautiful softness and heart opening and truth.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, when we share,
yes,
people are speaking their truth.
Yeah.
How are we feeling today? What's happening? And you know, it's not all heavy. I mean, some of it's really blissful and joyful, and you know, we've had dances and singing come through, you know, as a group, and yet we have also held each other as a community through bereavements, sadness, separations, loss of jobs, and homes changes. I've lost count how many of us have moved in the last few months, and health.
Yes.
Sickness. There's a lot of people either experiencing serious sickness or caring for somebody with.
So it's a place of real authenticity, because this is the reality of what others are living, the difference being that we are holding and supporting each other.
And this is life.
Mm-hmm.
This is the cycle of life that we're all working with, and being able to come and speak your truth and show up to the work and give and receive in that community, that cyclical cycle within such a beautiful community of people, is just, it's just still blows me away.
And so, putting a price on that, takes us to that honesty box. How on earth can you cost something like that? And I know that a lot of businesses will always go on to struggle with putting a price, on the time, on the product, on the service. For you went about it in a very, very interesting way. And I think perhaps on the outside, it would seem quite brave. But I think you often describe it as, again, you went to trust, you went into your heart. And for you, it landed as an honesty box. Can you tell us a little bit about that honesty box? Your Pandora's box.
Honesty box. I love honesty boxes. Okay, for several reasons. It's the first honesty box I ever came across is in the square in the village of Massam in North Yorkshire, which is very dear to my heart.
The car park, I just remembered.
Car park, the car park has an honesty box.
Yeah,
they don't have a local authority with big warning signs of fear and you will be clamped and all this kind of stuff. But oh gosh, it's just, you look around and you just think the fear that is generated just through signage alone.
Yeah.
Is it wonder people are walking around anxious?
You have to tell the government that. Just go to an honesty box on your taxi.
Yeah. Hey, look. Oh God. There's that big weight of responsibility. More work to be done. But it's So honesty box has always lived with me. And even running my consultancy business with David, we were always of the sense with our clients that whatever we negotiated as a fee would value our work and our investment in our own work to deliver the work of a high quality.
Yes.
But we were never ones to charge for every minute of every hour of every day, It's just not the way we operate. However, don't get me wrong, money for me always needs to feel equitable, an equitable exchange of energy. If this helps any small business owners, particularly in my model, and don't get me wrong, I'm a pretty savvy negotiator. I'm don't misread that. If work was creeping out and I felt things were becoming
shift,
like this, that's when I go back to the negotiating table and say, well, actually, we've actually delivered this, and so I need to charge you this amount of money. And nobody's ever said no, because actually it's born out of trusting relationships, so you can have that dialogue. Okay, so we're looping around again. So with HeartSpace, when I was sitting and listening into it, I was really clear that, and I am still clear, that I was going to show up to this work, and it didn't matter whether 3 people showed up or 300.
You would still be there.
I was still going to show up and do it. A calling, shall I say. It was just calling from my heart. And I also didn't want anybody to be excluded on the basis of money.
Sure.
Because, it's a birthright to have access to being our truth,
Mm-hmm.
receiving,
Yeah.
And so I feel really, you can probably hear it, I feel really, really strongly and passionately about this. So, and I'm also of the opinion that if people can pay, then valuing the time and effort that goes into providing HeartSpace, because as you know, I mean, I think I've shared with a few people that, I spend several hours preparing HeartSpace. So I just felt that if we are going to start to bring, it relates really back to the Hunger Project, doesn't it? It's if we are going to bring an energy of equanimity and harmony and balance back to the world,
yes,
then we live it.
Mm-hmm.
And I live it. I am this stuff. I be it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't just know it up here. So the honesty box is really born out of bringing harmony and balance back to this exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So the people who can pay also help support those who perhaps right now, because it doesn't mean that they're always going to be in this place.
No, that's so true.
People don't stay in the same place forever. I didn't.
Yes.
I didn't have any money when I was 27.
And actually it goes back to what the Hunger Project do, actually empowering people so that the money isn't just, here you go, here's some money, go and buy yourself some food.
Yeah.
Actually they go and buy a cow, or they go and buy, or they invest in a shop, and then they grow it, and then they start to employ people, and then they start to, be a gift to themselves, to get themselves out of hunger themselves, not just be given charity essentially. And it's very empowering when you can afford to pay for something, isn't it? And if, I'm sure anybody in the group of HeartSpace, if they were unable and then were able, they would feel really empowered by the fact that they could.
Absolutely, Claire. I mean, you're just absolutely spot on. And absolutely. And it is this encouragement of the equanimity of money exchange.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that creates such polarity in our world right now, and has done for too long. And if we're ever going to bring a new harmonious, sustainable model into the world, then I believe that all of us doing our small part starts to change the system. And if we're all doing that, then it is changing. It will change. So, like you described, I have an honesty box policy, so that if people can pay, or if they just wanted to make a small donation, that's fine too. I'm not wedded. It always makes me laugh when, not in an unkind way, but it makes me smile when people say, when members of the group send me, I think you did it last week actually. I've sent you payment, and it was like, cool, you've sent your payment. That's great. I check my bank account once a month, and I think, oh, that's nice. All these people have sent money. That's great. And then what I do is, because as you know, I donate 10% of all payments to go back into raising the voices of others in the world. That's also something that I feel really strongly about. People who are perhaps currently in situations where they're disempowered to be able to speak. About the changing the harmonization of money, and bringing some equanimity back into the world of money, and how much do we need, and how much is enough? How do we support those who are currently, because everything is changeable, everything moves, it's not permanent. It's like, the villages where you buy a cow or open up a shop for the Hunger Project. It's the same for me, in the fact that 10% of donations will be made to organisations where we can raise the voices of others and help, like you say, empower them, help them have their voice, find their truth, find their purpose. contribute to their own communities. And there are some amazing people all around the world, in villages and towns and cities and countryside, who are doing the most incredible work for their communities.
And actually the Hunger Project talks about some of these, if you like, little hidden gems of people that are literally, you know, they can see a meeting is going on and they're hiding behind some things, they're listening in and they want to be part of it, but their curiosity keeps them back for a little while, and then they invite them in. You know, it's like, come out from the darkness and come and join us, let's talk about this. It's a beautiful, and there's some beautiful stories of some of the work that the Hunger Project have done just by being present and being consistently showing up, so that eventually when people feel they are able to come out of the dark, that they step out into their power. You know?
Absolutely, and that's what I also love about HeartSpace is such. I suppose I should just finish by, you know, in terms of this honesty box policy. Okay, so it's born from my heart. It's born from wanting to, I don't know, be a different model where money is concerned.
Yeah.
And to hold those who are less able currently, and trust.
Yeah.
Trust. Abundance comes from giving and receiving.
Yeah.
So you know what? Guess what? I put it out, and I'd say on average, not that I'm monitoring it. Please, anybody that's watching this from HeartSpace, I'm not monitoring payments. Trust me, I've got too many other things to be doing. I look at it maybe once a month, and 90% of people have paid, and I've had a couple of people who I'm really pleased actually that people have found their voice to ask me and tell me when they're struggling, and I feel truly, truly grateful for their sharing.
Yeah.
To be truthful about it, not just slip off the radar and not come.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. What I really don't want to happen is that people don't come because they feel they can't afford it.
Yes.
The fact that a couple of people have reached out to me and said, you know, I can't afford to come every week, or maybe I'll come once a month, or some of those kind of things.
Yeah.
You know what? Come anyway.
Yeah.
But what you're receiving may yet enable you to pay more in the future, which will then 10% of that will then go to help other people.
Yeah.
And this is going to help people at the Hunger Project, and this is what I call the heart ripple.
Yeah, I like that, a ripple.
It's the heart ripple. It only came to me yesterday, this heart ripple. No, Monday, this heart ripple came to me. And I liken it to that wonderful, I'm not a massive ice cream fan, but you know that amazing ice cream you can get with like a strawberry.
Oh yeah, raspberry ripple or a...
Yeah. It's like a ripple.
Or
So
it would be hokey pokey ice cream. Honeycomb wound in it.
Yeah, so the more we raise our vibration, the more we stay in our own hearts. This is how I've learned we impact the world. And so no longer do we
do that in a meeting. How can you do that in a virtual sort of training? What would be the tip to actually having that ripple effect? That, you know, what one thing could somebody do to give off that sort of energy into a session, a virtual session?
What do you mean, that kind of energy? What would you
like? Talk about that sort of ripple effect, if you like, of, you know, abundance and of heart space and of good intentions. How can we, you know, I think we giggled a little bit when I told you that when I send emails out, I put my hand on my heart and then I go, and I sort of throw my heart energy out with the email because it is meant with all good intention. Then I sort of do that. And sometimes if I've got really difficult conversations to have, I put my hand on my heart and I speak my truth.
Beautiful.
And when I don't do that, I struggle. I stumble on my words. I get a little bit lost. I waffle, you know, all sorts of different things happen. But when I just do this, so that's what I do for a meeting. I just wondered if you had any other tips that people might find beneficial to, you know, especially if they're difficult conversations.
You kind of almost answered your own question, Claire.
I didn't mean to.
No, I'm glad you did.
Space in practice.
And this is it. This is exactly what it is. You know, I know I will never apologize for repeatedly saying, bring your hand to your heart. Your hand to your heart. Okay, so I've had some feedback from people, even recently. People are feeding back to me from HeartSpace, and also my coaching clients that I have one-on-one. And they're like, oh, we went into this really tricky meeting and we're expecting this, and then the most amazing thing happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go figure.
So this beautiful energy of abundance works in mysterious ways, unexpectedly. So absolutely right. If people are struggling to speak their truth, when we're really speaking our truth, we're coming from this place, not this place.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. If you feel yourself going back up into your mind, and if you feel yourself going to a place of ego where you're trying to justify why you're having this conversation, and I must do this, and you know, that kind of talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I've been there once or twice.
yeah, the chatter that goes on for all of us is kind of, or I must tell this person because, you know, I must assert my own boundaries, and this is not okay, and that's wrong, and this is right. That's all mind stuff, isn't it? You know, because there never is any right or wrong in that respect. So the principles of heart are really one of the things I've been working with recently with the Heart of Living Foundation yoga group is what's called ahimsa, satya.
Okay.
Ahimsa is I do no harm, either to myself or the other person. So this is what I call intention. What is my intention in speaking now? Can the person feel the love of my intention, even when it's a difficult message that you're needing to give to somebody? Can they feel that my intention is loving? And the other thing is called satya, which is truth. It's really the difference between truth and opinion. Okay. So all this stuff up here is just opinion.
Yeah.
I have an opinion. That's right. That's wrong. It's good. It's bad. It's all judgment. It's all opinion. I'm bad. I shouldn't have said that. Oh, why did I say that? Why did I say it like that?
Yeah.
You know, the noise. It's all ego. So we start harming ourselves with the internal self-talk.
Yes.
Which actually in and of itself is just a waste of energy. Stress is just a waste of energy. So I just prefer to be here, personally.
It's a beautiful place to be. So before we end all this lovely heart space, heart energy, can I ask and invite answers to just 3 quick-fire questions?
Yeah.
So first of all, can I ask you what your favourite book is? And that could be of now or your all-time favourite.
My favourite book now is I'm reading the most beautiful book called Love in Colour by Baba Babalu, I think is how you say it. She's a British Western Nigerian, and she's written the most beautiful, forgive me if I pronounced her name wrong, I'll send it to you afterwards.
Thank you.
But she's written the most beautiful collection of reworking old mythical tales of love, and put them in sort of a more modern context, but from places around the world.
Yeah.
Beautifully written. It's passionate, it's sensual, it's love in all of its colour.
Beautiful, and nice name for a book too.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
The name of my book.
Yeah, my you best get writing, love.
Absolutely. So second quick fire question is, out of all of the self-care tips that you do and that you maybe, you know, recommend to others, what one self-care tip do you think everybody should do?
Breathe.
And often when you say that, people breathe. I start all of my education with breathe. And it's so unexpected because people expect me to go into product knowledge or something about brand or something like this. But whenever I teach, I always start with the breath. No technique, just let it come in, let it go out, and just observe what it does along the way.
Breath is life.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that one. That's like, amen.
Amen to breath. It's really that simple. Start with the breath and everything starts to follow after that.
Yeah, agreed. And then last but not least, what, you know, during this pandemic, what have you deeply learned about yourself that maybe you didn't know before?
I'm listening now. I don't know the immediate answer to that question, Claire. I would say, the words that are coming through to me for myself and everyone else, anybody that might listen to this, is knowing all is well.
That's beautiful. Oh, on that note, wonderful HeartSpace. Thank you so much for joining me today, and just really enjoyed the conversation. There are so many lessons in that conversation. And like you say, I will put the recommendations, you know, the tips, the books, and I'll compile those so that everybody has them, so that they know exactly what they're looking for if they wish to have a little look. So thank you so much for joining me.